How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'll show you who I'm going to be voting for here. In the Steam Awards for 2018, you most certainly still have an opportunity to get in on this as voting closes on January the 3rd. So there are a total of 8 different categories here, and I'm just going to scroll down through all of them and pick which ones that I am most influenced by and sort of give my reasoning behind it. So first off, we have Game of the Year here for 2018. For me, this is a difficult one because I haven't played any of these games. So when it comes to that, what do? You can roll a die, or you can just side with the one that you're most excited to play. So out of PUBG, Monster Hunter World, Kingdom Come, Hitman 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm probably most looking forward to playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's about a theme that I really do enjoy. It's set in medieval Europe, and as somebody who came from a very strong background with the Stronghold franchise, which is all about medieval European castles and stuff, or taking those skirmishes out into the Arabian deserts and the like in the Middle East, I love that time period, and I love the style, the artwork of that, so I would most certainly be looking forward to playing Kingdom Come Deliverance out of all of those games, and that's how I chose to vote for that category. Here we have VR Game of the Year. Now, I don't own a VR headset, so once again, this becomes a little bit more complicated. So I would base this vote here on the games that I've played in the past, and I've played both Skyrim and Fallout, so it's a bit of a difficult call there. I've heard a lot of stuff from VR Chat. I personally don't like that game. And then, of course, Superhot was probably one of the more interesting first-person shooter-ish games that came out a couple of years ago. So there are some pretty decent picks here. Never heard of Beat Saber. Looks like it could be kind of interesting, as like a Geometry Dash kind of standpoint. But I think ultimately I'm going to have to vote for Fallout 4. Okay, the next category is called Labor of Love. And here are another 5 games, of which I've only played a couple of them. I know I really should get out more, but the one that I would have to vote for here, even if I had played all of them, is Stardew Valley, because this game sort of embodies a labor of love. The developer was working on it long before they ever thought it would really be a viable product, and they've continued to work on it into 2018, adding really cool features such as multiplayer. I wish I could... There's a problem with me personally and my connection where I can't seem to get into other people's multiplayer games without getting disconnected, but I think it shows some real commitment to continuing the development of that game, and that game was a labor of love from the very beginning, so it's very difficult for me not to vote for Stardew Valley there. And of course, my favorite category here, the best developer. Now, this was an interesting category, and during the nomination process, Valve mentioned that they had actually expanded the number of nominees that would be eligible from 5 to 10. So we have double the number of nominees than we would for other categories. And of course, I'm going to have to vote for Klei because it's their games that I've been playing for the past year, almost exclusively at this point. I would say the first half I was playing like some Civilization and some Stronghold, but the last half of 2018 I most certainly played a lot of Klei games, and it was really impressive to me to see them pop up in this top 10 list of developers on Steam. I think that says they're really doing something right and that they really have a passionate audience, despite the fact that their games don't rank up there in like the top 10. Their games range in terms of player numbers from like the mid-range all the way down to the bottom in terms of like the Steam Top 100. So the fact that they would even be nominated to me means that their community really appreciates what they do. And if you're looking for a community management model to emulate, try looking to Klei's. They're definitely doing something right, despite being a much smaller developer than many of the other names here on this list. For the category of best environment, we have The Witcher 3, Subnautica, Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I should say, Far Cry 5, and Dark Souls 3. I've played a little bit of Subnautica, but out of all of these games, I haven't really played much of them. I've seen gameplay footage of them, obviously. The one I'm looking forward to the most, I think, is going to be Dark Souls. I am more familiar with those hardcore type games now at this point. The idea of it being, the idea of permadeath or just brutal crushing difficulty that you have to grind your way through and develop those twitch skills that you need to make it through some of these harder games. So I would have to say I would be looking forward most to playing Dark Souls 3. It's the one that interests me the most in terms of what I've seen. Subnautica, I have the game now on Epic. You can get the game currently if you have an Epic Games client. You can pick it up for free. So I'd recommend you go ahead and do that if you have Epic Games. Epic Games is like the developer behind Fortnite. I know, big surprise in case you didn't know. But yeah, go ahead and pick up Subnautica, but from what I've seen of it, it's a first-person game, and I'm not quite as keen on first-person games as I am on third-person. The category Better with Friends, we have Payday 2, Dead by Daylight, Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and Overcooked. This is another category where I've not played any of the games in it, but I'm most looking forward to Overcooked, interestingly enough. These other games, like Payday 2, I know is pretty popular, but too much shooter type stuff. I'd be more interested in Overcooked, and apparently it has multiplayer, which I didn't know. So yeah, I'll vote for Overcooked there. And it seems like the type of game I could actually get like more people that I know interested in playing with me too. So and it also was a small game, right? I look at a lot of these other games, like Counter-Strike, I suppose is decently small, but some of these games, like 100 gigabytes, get out of town. I'm not downloading that much. The category for Best Alternate History, I'm going to be voting for Civilization 6, of course. I nominated this game. It made the nomination list. Civilization is just absolutely one of my favorite franchises to date. I've played Civilization 3, 4, a little bit of 5, and a decent amount of Civilization 6, and I enjoyed all of them. Civilization 4, of course, is my favorite, but that's probably because I was most influenced by that. Civilization 4 is a game that got me to care a little bit more about geography and history. So I have a special place in my heart for Civilization 4, and I still love Civilization 6. So that's going to be my vote here for Best Alternate History. And lastly, Most Fun with a Machine. We have Euro Truck Simulator, Rocket League, Nier Automata, Factorio, and Space Engineers. Now, this is a list of games that I'm actually pretty keen on. I've played 3 of them so far, I think, but ultimately I love Factorio. I'm going to have to vote for Factorio. I love the art style of it, and it's a game that really rewards you for painstaking detail when it comes to planning something out. I mean, if you thought planning a base and Don't Starve was difficult, you've seen nothing like Factorio. It is a game that absolutely requires the most out of you in terms of inventory management and setting up assembly lines that make sense. It's a game that I would like to be better at, and the great news is that it actually does have multiplayer now. Interestingly enough, I've not had an opportunity to try that out yet, but I own the game at the moment, and I would love to find some people to play it with at some point in the near future. So there you go, Factorio. Those are my selections for the Steam Awards 2018. Just remember that even if you did not vote in the nomination process, you most certainly can still vote now. So if you don't use Steam a lot, take 5 minutes and go ahead. I'm not trying to influence you for pretty much any category here. I just like to explain my philosophy behind the choices that I decided to make. And if I had to influence you for one category, I would highly recommend choosing Klei Entertainment for the best developer. I don't expect them to win, but I love the outpouring of support and the passion that a lot of their fans have that got them into the list of the top 10 most loved developers here on Steam. So they're doing something right because they don't have the numbers, but they've got the love. Those are my picks though for the Steam Awards 2018. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope to see you next time.